Now, what's my line? Brought to you by Stop at Spray Deodorant. Poof, there goes perspiration. Poof Deodorant Body Powder, the body powder you spray. The Nest Shampoo, the new flowing cream shampoo. All in the first truly functional cosmetic containers, far easier to use. All created by Dr. Jules Montagnier, the famous cosmetic chemist. Time now to enjoy What's My Line?
Now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in the New York Journal-American and papers coast to coast, and who this week was again selected as one of America's best-dressed women, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, a young man who is passing through town on his way to Washington, D.C., where he will open Tuesday night in a new comedy, The Pink Elephant, Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. And on my left, a young lady who is very interested these days, not particularly in pink elephants, but in the entire circus, Arlene Francis.
Thank you, Steve, and I am interested in the circus because Mr. North has graciously turned over, or will turn over, the entire proceeds of the circus on Wednesday night, April 1st, to cerebral palsy, and I hope you'll all come and pack the house. And on my left, the very charming publisher of Random House, who not only writes an enormously amusing column, The Surfboard, but whose lovely wife, Phyllis, gives him a run for his money with her own column in the Long Island News. Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
It's news day, but it was nice of you anyhow. On my left is that inimitable newscaster and moderator, and we've imported at almost incredible expense from Rye, New York, Mr. John Daly.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What's My Line, presented by Stop It. Once again tonight, we have some of our fellow citizens here as guests, and they've brought with them some interesting and we hope some rather difficult-to-guess occupations so that the panel will have trouble and they'll carry home some prizes. We'll also have a famous guest challenger before the panel a bit later in the program. But right now, it is time for the experts to meet our first challenger whose job they've got to spot. So would you sign in, please, sir? James Buck. James Buck. Would you tell us, first of all, Mr. Buck, where you're from?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indianapolis?
Yes.
I thought that was a Princeton haircut. I thought you came from New Jersey. But you're from Indianapolis, Indiana, and we have 4 people from Manhattan over there that I'm quite sure you'd like to meet, and they'd like to know you better. So would you go over and see them for me, please?
How do you do?
All right, Mr. Buck, you come over here now, if you will, and sit down next to me. And as you may know, at this point, on the basis of that fine, firm, and sure handwriting of yours, and the brief visit that you had with the members of the panel, we give them one free guess as to what your line may be. And we always begin these free guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
I think he writes free verse.
Mr. Allen.
I think he's Gary Moore's barber.
Miss Francis.
I think he tests racing cars.
Mr. Cerf.
I think he's the radio editor of the Indianapolis Star.
No, I'm afraid nobody has it. We'll let our viewers at home have a further look at Mr. Buck, and at the same time, we'll tell them what his line is, but the panel's got to dig. All right. Mr. Buck, the rules are simplicity itself. Every time you can get a no answer out of the panel, it will cost them $5. We'll keep the record of that up here. 10 of these no's, and you have won the game. Mr. Buck is salaried. Now let's begin the general questioning with Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Buck, is any of your work intellectual?
No.
1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Allen.
Your work, then, is physical.
Yes.
Are your hands brought into play in any way?
Yes, they are.
I see. Do you hold something in them in the course of your work?
Yes.
Is it a tool of some kind?
At times, yes.
I see. Is it smaller than a typewriter, let's say?
No.
What's the matter with the bread box, Mr. Allen?
No, it isn't.
That makes it 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you in some way operate a rather large machine?
You might say so, yes.
Well, if I might say so, okay. Is this machine found indoors?
Sometimes, yes.
Does it have any moving parts?
Yes, it does.
Has it a motor?
No.
Oh, 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Buck, do you work for a profit-making organization?
No, I don't.
Mr. Buck,
I'm sorry, 4 down and 6 to go. I'll keep them up, Jim.
do you work for any branch of the United States government?
Yes, I do.
Is it any branch of the armed forces?
Yes, it is.
You mean you're of enlistment age or draft age?
I don't like the term draft, but yes.
Well, do you ever wear a uniform?
Yes, I do.
Ooh.
The Boy Scout.
Now I just have to find out what uniform it is.
Yes, well, actually...
Try.
Is the... You said it. Now, you are connected with some type of machine,
Yes, I am.
and it has moving parts, but what did Arlene find out it didn't do?
Doesn't have a motor.
Doesn't have a motor.
And actually, we used machine there, as we often do, in the broadest sense. I mean, there is a physical appliance which is vital and necessary to the performing of the functions which he is charged with. Go on, Dorothy, dear.
Well, would you be speaking of firearms of any type?
Not in this particular sense.
Well, I must say this, to be...
Well,
let's have
remember, I'm a girl.
Oh, sure, we know. Let us have a small conference. We would have to say this, that in the basic assumption of a machine in its broadest sense, there is some other issue in hand, but firearms are connected very often with the basic performance of duty here.
Get ready, please. Is there anything connected with what you do that explodes?
Well, when the sergeant gets too tough... Oh, no, you're not allowed to explode, are you?
I think sometimes we think something explodes.
Well, do you have...
Now he called a conference.
Now I'm confused, so
Do you
go
have
on.
anything to do with anything destructive, is what I mean.
Well, I mean in the sense that as a member of the armed forces, it is necessary to become reasonably proficient in
Well, he could be
destructive
connected
implements.
with KP, you know.
Beg your pardon?
I'm trying to rule out things like KP and desk
Do
work.
rule
yes,
them
you-
out
yes, you rule.
completely.
May I ask, Mr. Buck, are you a commissioned officer?
Yes, I am.
Well, I'll get rid of it. Have you anything to do with atomic energy?
No.
Well, that's 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Allen.
There is no motor connected with what you do. We've established that, have we?
Well, not directly.
Yeah. Is this machine or tool with which you work, does it work in connection with weapons? I mean, I'm getting at things like radar or that sort of thing.
Well, now, we're getting confused. I want to put something in focus here. There is no motor in the direct item with which he is most closely associated. This is not to say that a means of conveyance is not involved ultimately or at some time in his operation. Now, you go on from there.
I would like to, but I don't know where we were. Could what you do be done by a civilian?
Yes, it could.
I mean, without his getting arrested for doing it, I mean.
Well,
He could,
actually,
yes.
the basic design which gives him specific identification could be done by a civilian without getting him arrested if he did it in the right place.
Is what you do ordinarily done at the front, as distinguished from at Camp Roberts or something?
Well, now, you mean as a non-training exercise? In actual operation, would he more likely be in combat areas than non-combat areas?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Go on from there.
I was glad you told me what I meant, because I didn't know. Oh, dear. I can get a lot of yeses here, but I'm not getting close to the right thing at all. I'll pass.
All right, Miss Francis.
Well, let's find out where you are. Are you with the Navy?
No, I'm not.
Next down in Portugal, Mr. Cerf.
I don't know what I can't call you Mr. Buck. Is it
Call him
Lieutenant
sir.
Buck
You were a
or
private
sir?
one.
I certainly was. Does your work ever carry you aloft into the air?
Yes, it does.
Do you ever have anything to do with jumping out of planes?
Yes, I do.
Have you got something to do with the parachute troops?
Yes, I am.
You're an officer in the parachute troop.
I am.
That's right. He's an Army parachute. And
A general, no doubt.
not yet.
At the wrong end.
Be a general soon. That's what happens. And, of course, the machine is the parachute, which, as Mr. Buck said, it does explode in a way. When it lets go, you hear a big blast, she fills with wind. Well, Mr. Buck, you did right well with him. I think you got him thoroughly confused. I'm very pleased that you did. I'm also pleased that you took time out before going to Korea to come and see us.
Thank
Because he's
you
off
very
to Korea in the morning.
Good luck.
Good to see you. All right, panel, a very good beginning. Let's see what you can do with another challenger. Will you sign in, please, ma'am? Sarah Kunis, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs.? Miss. Well, Mrs. Kunis, will you tell us where you're from?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia? That's down Pennsylvania. Well, as you can see, you have no reason to be nervous. You have more friends in the house than I have. Would you take a small walk down in front of the panel for me, please? All right, Mrs. Kunis, right over here next to me, and I think you know that at this point we always give the panel one free, wild guess as to what your line may be. Would you come in a bit closer? Thank you. And we always begin the free, wild guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she's a waffle maker.
A waffle maker, Mr. Allen.
Judging by the speed with which she passed the panel, I think she does the 100-yard dash.
Miss Francis.
I think she's a riveter at an airplane factory.
Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Kunis makes Philadelphia cream cheese.
No, nobody has it. We'll let our viewers at home have a further look at Mrs. Kunis. At the same time, we'll tell them what her line is. But the panel has to dig. Mrs. Kunis, I think you know the rules. Every no answer, $5. Keep the record up here. 10 no's, and it's all yours. All right, one last usual bit of help. Mrs. Kunis is salaried. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Steve Allen.
Mrs. Kunis, in the course of your work, do you come into contact with a product of any kind?
Yes.
I see. Is it a product that I could hold in my hand?
Yes.
If I were to do so, would I find it soft as opposed to something like wood and metal and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Let me see. Does it come perhaps in different patterns and colors?
Yes.
Would it be correct to say that it might be used more by men than by women?
Yes.
Yes, I get to the degree that it's used. I'd say it's used more by men than women. Wait a minute. Let's have a conference.
Welcome to those two.
Actually, I think Mrs. Kunis will agree with me that we would not want to mislead you. And I think it would be best to say that there are circumstances under which both sexes make use of the product in one way or another, and that it is not necessarily in balance in one favor rather than another.
Does that mean I'm all through?
No, you're doing fine. You go on.
All right. Used by men as soft material. Could this thing be twisted into knots or loops?
Yes.
Could I put this around my neck? I don't trust these people. Would I be correct to say that I would never wear this with a sport shirt?
Yes, I think you'd be correct to say you'd never wear it with a sport shirt.
All right. Does the average well-dressed man perhaps have a couple of dozen of these in his closet?
One down a night to go, Miss Francis.
Is it possible that this is not something to wear, but something that you might consume?
Well, it is possible this is not something to wear, and there are circumstances under which you might consume it, yes.
Would you be able to buy this in a drugstore?
No. $2 and $8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Cunis, you said this could be twisted around the neck?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with any rope or anything of that sort, has it?
No. $3 and $7 to go,
I said
Mr.
it hasn't got anything to do with rope.
Well, you better watch out how you ask these double negatives. They're going to roll the boom on you. Yes, it has nothing to do with no rope, no. All right, you go on, Mr. Cerf.
Can you buy this in any kind of a shop?
Not, I think, no. Not in the terms of reference that we have here. $3 and $7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is this thing, or has it ever been alive?
Yes.
And Steve could twist it around his neck?
Yes.
Then it's long rather than round and fuzzy like a little chicken. Is it less attractive to the average person than a little fuzzy chicken? Is it something that you wouldn't ordinarily have in the house?
Yes.
Is it something that you wouldn't have on a farm if you could help it, unless you had a very special kind of a farm?
Well, I would... Yeah, well, if it was a special kind. I would say that normally you wouldn't want to have it around the farm.
A nice Iowa farm, I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know about the Iowa farms, but we...
Well, is it anything in the reptile family?
Yes.
Is it a snake?
Yes. That's the product. But now what does Mrs. Cunis have to do with snakes?
Well, does she raise them or trap them?
No.
No, that's $4 and $6 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you do what you do with these snakes in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that because I open there in a week. Are you employed by a zoo or a thing of some kind? Oh. So you take care of snakes at the zoo, huh?
That, I think we would have to accept. Snake keeper is the technical term, but take care of the snakes at the Philadelphia Zoo. Thank you. Well, Mr. Cunis, I hope you enjoyed your visit. It was awfully nice to have you with us on What's My Line. Very good, panel. That was a tough one. And now, in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we'll introduce our mystery guest. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. My friends in the panel would know our guest on site as usual. They have been provided with blindfolds. Are they all in place, panel?
Yes, they are.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery celebrity, we dispense with all the usual preliminaries and get right down to the general questioning, which we will begin with Miss Arlene Francis.
Well, judging from the whistles, you certainly must be a performer, are you? Minnie Mouse.
That means yes.
Are you in the theater?
That's $1 down and $9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, has your picture ever appeared on amusement pages?
Has it ever appeared on amusement pages?
The pages confined to theatrical, movie, television, and radio news.
That means yes.
Is that musical indicate that you might be a singer?
Just a moment, we have to have a conference. I'm so sorry. Well, I think, to be perfectly fair, Bennett, we must say that one of the fine talents which our guest has is that of singing, although that is not necessarily the principal identification.
Well, have you ever sung in a nightclub? That means yes.
Yes, that means yes, too. Yeah.
Have you ever sung in a nightclub in New York?
That's $2 down and $8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Have you ever appeared in motion pictures?
That means yes.
Have we established the sex of this person?
We haven't officially, no.
What do you think those whistles were?
Well, I couldn't see where they were coming from.
Maybe they were women whistling at a man. We don't know.
Are you female? Are you what might be termed a glamour girl?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you or have you ever been a blonde?
I didn't even hear that myself. You've got to do that again. That's yes.
Are you a blonde now?
Yes.
And you've never appeared on the New York stage? Have you ever appeared at presentation houses anywhere in the country?
Have you ever appeared at presentation houses? That would be in big movie theaters where there is a stage show together with a movie. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Allen.
Your reputation, then, is established almost entirely in motion pictures. Is that correct?
Yes, no. I mean, there are other media, as we say.
I see. Have we ever seen you on television?
It's getting weaker.
Are you still here?
Yes,
yes,
that's
I
yes.
see. Have we perhaps seen one of your pictures at a first-run theater in the last year?
Yes, mm-hmm.
Was it a Technicolor picture? No?
Oh, that was good. Try that again. It was technical.
Oh, it was. I see. Was it a musical?
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Would you be considered a leading woman? That means yes, ma'am.
That means yes, ma'am. That's right.
Are you in a picture playing at the present time in New York?
That means yes.
No? Yes?
Yeah, that means yes.
Is it a Technicolor picture? Well, there's only one that I can think of, the present moment, and that's Moulin Rouge. Are you in a picture called Moulin Rouge? Are you one of many beautiful Hungarians?
Yes.
Are you Zsa Zsa Gabor?
Zsa Zsa Gabor, yes. A very fine picture and a very fine job you did. Even all the critics and all the lay people I know have said that. And thanks so much for coming to join us and having, we hope, so much fun. And that's
I
my
had
line.
so much fun.
Thanks
Thank you very much.
Glad to see you.
He said before the show.
All right, thanks very much, Mr. Moore. All right, panel, time is very short. Let's see what you're going to do with another challenger. Would you sign in, please, ma'am? Time is very short, panel, so I put you on your marks for this. You'll have probably about 2 minutes. Leoma Bird, is that right? Is it Miss or Miss? All right, Miss Bird, where are you from?
Pleasantville, New Jersey.
Pleasantville, New Jersey. Time is so short, we'll dispense with the walk in front of the panel. Will you come over here and sit down with me? And, panel, you've had a very quick look at Miss Bird. You've had a chance to see her handwriting. Now we'll have the usual free guesses, which we begin with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she's a private eye.
Mr. Allen.
I think Miss Bird is a bird watcher.
Miss Francis.
I think she's a child psychiatrist.
Mr. Cerf.
She's a trained nurse.
No, I'm afraid nobody has it right. We'll let our viewers have a further look at Miss Bird. At the same time, we'll tell them what her line is, but the panel's got it there. All right. Miss Bird, I think you know the rules. Every no answer costs them $5. We keep the record here. 10 no's. You've won the game. Miss Bird is self-employed. With that, let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, sir.
Miss Bird, did you require any special training for the job you perform?
No.
No, not as we use the term, Bennett. All right, 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is there any product involved in what you do?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Allen.
You perform a service, then I take it. Is it performed more for one sex than the other?
Yes.
Is this perhaps the female sex?
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
That means your service is for fellas, and I think that's nicest. Male sex, then? Is this the human race?
Yes.
Yes. Do you do anything in an advisory capacity in any way?
In a way, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yes, in a way.
Do you teach something to these gentlemen?
No, I don't think so. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Miss Bird, are these gentlemen growing up?
Yes.
They are. They're adults. Do you
Yes and no, Bennett.
do you touch them in any way?
Yes.
Do you manipulate them in any way? In other words, would you say that you did some kind of health giving or improving of...
Bennett, I'm sorry to have to interrupt you, but the time is up. As I told you, it would be very short. I was hoping you might get the lead on it because I think you're headed in the right direction. Miss Bird runs a training camp for prize fighters and wins the full prize by default.
Prize fighter.
Thanks for being our guest. And now, in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you a preview look at one of our guests whose line our panel is going to be asked to try and identify on next week's. Same time, our panel of experts will be asked, what's my line by this young lady? Would you know what her line is? Well, the answer will all come out next Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when once again, Stop It invites you to play What's My Line? For other localities, check your local listings for the date and time of our weekly series, and don't forget, What's My Line on CBS Radio on Wednesday nights. And until we see you again, this is John Daly saying good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Steve.
Good night, Arlene.
Good night, Bennett.
Hope I can catch Gabor before she gets out of this theater. Good night, John.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?